Good day once again. I'm your host to the most. Okay, to business. Now we want to write an algorithm that will verify the validity of a date. So this will involve an AP. An AP is action parameter in French. That's either a procedure or a function. So a function basically is a chunk of a program that will handle a specific task. Then you call the function inside the main program and it would deliver what we programmed it for. Yeah. So we want to check for the date in respect to each day, the month, then year. So the aspect of the year will check if it's a leap year or not. Then the aspect of the day will check in February if it's 28th or 29th, that relates to a leap year as well, and so on. So let's get it going. So we'll start with the name as always. Algorithm verify, let's call it that. So the type, we'll call it vdate. What is it? A record. Now, what will be the feed items of our record? The day, month, and the year. What are they? Integers, because they deal with numbers. We can say Sunday is the first day, like that. We're not doing it based on Sunday like that. Else would have used string for days. So J is you, M is moi, A is Annie. So far. Now, as I said in the previous tutorial, we'll have to get a variable that will relate to this record. So we call it dt, for example. Now, dt is what type of variable? It's the variable of vdate, which is this. Now we'll write our function. Our function, we can call it whatever name. We'll say function. In C programming, this will be void. So it will be like void and the name. So we say function valid date. Just combine the D for valid and for date. Now I would have a bracket. Now the bracket will contain this variable, so that this variable would use in the function will link up to this and get the validity of everything we want, since everything is coming from the record. So we say dt. What type of function? What kind of variable is this? It's a vdate variable. So we say vdate. We close this. Now, what type of function is this? The function is a Boolean function. It's a true or false function. Now, it's a Boolean variable, actually. Now, a Boolean variable deals with yes or no, true or false. It just involves two answers. So, it's a Boolean. I've got Boolean there. Now, we'll begin constructing our function. So, we'll initialize valid date to be true. Vrai in French. Now we'll use a switch break loop. A switch break loop in C. It's called Cavo in French. To run through the month and see if the month is greater than 30, that would handle the case whereby it is for January and so others, those months that they are 31. Then we'll handle for those months that are 30 as well, like the days they end in 30. Then we'll handle for 29 and so on. So we say car with an S, dt point m. So remember I said dt will be used here so that we can get the field items from here and treat it here. So dt point m, which is the month, so we'll be handling the month here. Car dt point m vo. So now we check for the months that are 31 days in number. So we have the first month, the third, the fifth, the seventh, the 8th, the 10th, and the 12th. Now we say if dt point j, which is the day, is less than or equal to 0, or dt point j is greater than 31. Then the validity of the date is false. Now we use a fancy loop to close the if statement. So we have checked if it is 31 or not. Then we check if it's 30. So we say for the 4th month, 6th month, the 9th, and the 11th. If dt point j is less than or equal to 0, or dt point j is greater than 30, then valid date is false. Now we close the if statement. Now we have checked for the 31st and the 30th, those months. Now we want to check for 29th is a leap year and 28. So we say C, all inside the switch loop. We say if dt point a, now we're dealing with the year. We want to check if the year would be a year bisextile, which is a leap year or not. Mode cat, the year, divide mode cat, that's the modulus of 4 is equal to 0, and dt point a mode 100 is different from 0. So let's say we use 2018, the year we're in, mode cat, if it's equal to 0, and 2018 mode 100 is different from 0. That means it's a leap year. So we have another method, which is, we can add it u dt point a mode 400 if it is different from 0, Then along we'll say if this is like an extra, an implication elongating the if statement. Now, for example, it is a bisextile year. Now, we'll check for the date. If dt point j is less than or equal to 0, or dt point j is greater than 29, that means it is not valid. It's false. Now we say if it isn't a bisextile year, it means it's an unbisextile year, if I can say that. So we test for that case. We use the else if dt point j is less than or equal to 0, or dt point j is greater than 28. That means it is false. So we close the loop. This is the first one, find the C. Then another find the C. For the second one, this one. Then the last one, find the C. Then we close this, the car, which is find car. Then we close the function itself with fun and a semicolon because it is inside the program. It makes part of the program. So the beginning of the program itself, the principal program will be debut. We say a query. We'll ask the user to give a day. Enter a day. We'll study the day or scan dt point j. Enter a month. We'll scan the month dt point m. Enter a year. Scan the year. So after doing this, we'll call the function. The name of the function was valid date. So we say valid date, and our parameters, which is dt point j, dt point m, dt point a. Now, when we call this function in the principal algorithm, it sets the valid date here to true. Then we enter this switch and it checks for each cases. Now, once it checks for the case, it handles this set of cases. If it verifies that, then it comes out to give us the answer. Else it checks for this and goes to this. Whichever way, we get to verify if the year is, it will be a leap year or not. Then we have the fun, which ends the main algorithm. So thank you for watching. If you do not understand, you can always drop a comment and I'll get right back to you. Have a nice day.